Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. In this video I'm going to be following up on Sarah Berry's mission reports, and as you can see, the last time I did the video was back in September, and I apologize for the long delay, but we delay no longer. Okay. So this is basically the introduction to it. So go check the video out. I explain what it is basically. Just to quickly synthesize, Sarah Berry did these secret mission reports to the Presbyterian Church, and this was before UBF officially broke off with the Presbyterian. And if you notice, the older ones, at least the first half of them, she made about 2021. Half of them are very different, and you notice that the direction she had to evangelize Korea was not the same as it was now. It was a completely different direction. It wasn't until after she meets the founder that's when they got the direction to basically recruit students. But as you can see, I'll explain more throughout these videos. This video series is that this was not always the case, in that they always had the direction to fish for students. No, it changed over time. Okay, so we're going to look at the first mission report. So this is mission report by Sarah Berry, February 1956. Okay. Here's the original letter. And like I said, my friend from Germany, who was a former member of a chapter in Germany, he actually discovered them, and then I rediscovered them because they were almost forgotten. So I actually scanned it, so now you can actually see it. But luckily, he did archive it before he took his website down. He had to take his website down because he got threatened by a UBF missionary. The UBF missionary threatened to sue him if he didn't take the website down, and this is in Germany. So realistically, he should have won that case because the whole country is basically anti-cult, but financially he didn't have the backing to do it. And so it was taken down, but he did save all the stuff, so yeah. Okay. He also did the transcript as well. I more or less put it here as well too, so you guys can see it. So yeah, I published this back in 2018, but I didn't make a video about it. So this is before I started the YouTube channel. Okay. And you should see, also notice here that I edited the image. I took out the address. That's because my website is still active, but since it's an archive, you can see the full address here. You can also see the images on Facebook as well. I put them on Facebook a while back, actually 2 years ago. So put link. Don't want to put link in the description. All the links in the description below of all the stuff that I'm showing you. Okay. So we're gonna read the first mission report, and then we'll just take a crack at it. Okay. Dear friends, with an ocean of new experiences crammed in the last 4 months, it is certainly hard to pick and choose among them for the contents of one's first MCD. So MCD stands for Missionary Correspondence Department. Letter. This country is so exact opposite from America. So she came to Korea. This country is so exact opposite from America that I wonder if time will ever come when there will cease to be new sights at which to marvel. These folks sort of cooperate with nature. They live close to the soil and blend their houses into the landscape. No tall skyscrapers. They sit on the floor, and mothers carry babies on their backs and everything else on their heads. I could ramble a long time like this, but let me illustrate by telling you what I did this morning. At 9:20, I bundled into a Jeep with Miss Roots and we bumped our way out to a country village. It was my first close-up, quote-unquote, of a village, and I was along just to look. The village children and I both did lots of looking, them at us, and I at everything. The sunlight was warm and bright, so the village folk decided to have the church service in the courtyard of one of their homes. While they were bringing out the rice straw mats to spread on the ground for everyone to sit on, we talked to the people, mostly women and children, who were beginning to gather. The first person who said anything to me was an old grandmother, bent double from years of sitting on the floor or squatting at the stream doing the family laundry. She asked me how old I was, a standard Korean custom. I told her, and she responded with the next standard question: "Are you married?" Answered that, and then, fortunately, my Korean ran out, and Miss Roots came to the rescue. Most Korean girls have been married off by their families by the time they are my age. I talked next to a junior high school boy who was especially interested in my English, Korean, New Testament. The students unanimously are interested in learning English, and needless to say, I was glad to read the Bible with junior high boy. Time to begin Sunday school arrived, and as Miss Root played her accordion, the crowd collected. The children sat cross-legged on the rice straw mats. They were crowded together close to the front so they could learn the songs and hear the story Miss Root told. The boys sat on one side and the girls sat on the other, and the adults filled up the space behind. After Sunday school, the evangelist from a neighboring village preached his monthly sermon. In this particular village, there are only a handful of baptized Christians, so most of the people at the church were seekers. The man who owned the home in whose courtyard we met is not a Christian, and apparently only came because we were immediate in his yard. A Korean Bible woman has been living there in the village doing evangelistic work for a year or so. As we came to the courtyard, I noticed a strange fishing pole-like thing with a bunch of straw tied to the top of it, extending up over the roof of the house to which the courtyard belonged. At my first opportunity, I tried out the first sentence of Korean, which I learned. What is that? A little learning is certainly a dangerous thing, because I have no idea what the flood of Korean which came back as an answer was. I later discovered that the quote-unquote thing was a prayer pole put on New Year's Day as a prayer for success during the coming year. But the prayer is directed to no one. What a strange feeling to sit there in the shadow of heathen darkness and hear the gospel preached and see the light of the transforming power of God shining out of the faces of Christians who have heard and believed. For the God who redeemed us and who would have all people ever come to be his own is not an quote-unquote unknown God, but the God who made the world and everything in it, who sent his Son to die on a cross and raised him up from the dead that we might know him as our Savior and King. Perhaps the greatest difference in this country and America is the unmistakable contrast out there between Christendom and heathendom. This was a one Sunday activity. My daily routine is different. It can almost be summed up into words: language study. It can be quite boring, but with Lord's help, it has been interesting. Thank you for your prayers. I count on them. I've also been helping a little every day with the occupational therapy in the Graham TD Hospital here in Gwangju, but that's another letter. Sincerely, Sarah Berry. This mission report is totally different from the mission reports Barry would write later on. In fact, I'll go as far as to say it reads like a memoir. So notice how this report Barry made before she met Chang Woo Samuel Lee. Okay, let's break this down. So this is the first ever mission report she sent to the Presbyterian Church, and from the looks of it, it appears that when Sarah Berry went to Korea to pioneer, to evangelize Korea, it looked like she was more or less an intern. Basically, she was a missionary in training, so to speak. Right? And she talks about this woman named Miss Root. So I'm guessing Miss Root is the one who was basically training Sarah Berry to be a missionary. Right, so Miss Root would be like the teacher, and then Sarah Berry would be like the subordinate. That's what I'm guessing. And you notice how Sarah Berry knows little to no Korean at all. Which I thought it's a little odd. I would think that, yes, I'm aware it's in the 50s, but you would think that Sarah Berry will learn how to get familiarized with the language. At least elementary Korean. But she doesn't do that. It seemed like she kind of went there kind of blindly, almost, in a way. Sorry, she talks about, this junior high school boy who's especially interested in. Why? I wish I got to know this boy's name. So you can see here what she was doing is going to a village, but she doesn't preach to anybody. She's just basically there like an intern, just witnessing what's going on. And this is a very interesting sentence. So my theory is that this is where UBF got the idea to separate the boys from the girls. Right here. This sentence. I'll read this again. The boys sat on one side and the girls sat on the other, and the adults fill up the space behind. So I'm guessing that's what they chose to do. Yeah. And so UBF basically mimicked this culture thing. Right? So as you notice is that when we go to testimony sharing and Sunday worship service, you notice that we sit boys on one side and girls on the other side, and you can see now why they do that. So Sarah Berry got the idea from her first experience in Korea. So let's look up Christendom and Songdom. What is she talking about here? Let's look this up. Really? She going more. Christian world. The worldwide body or society of Christians. Heathendom. Paganism. So heathendom is another word for paganism or pagandom. So this definition specifically means an individual or people that do not acknowledge the God of the Bible, a person who's neither Jew or Christian. And you can see Sarah Berry has this kind of judgmental and biased perspective of Korea when she first gets there. So, despite the fact, even though there are people evangelizing Korea, even though she actually mentions earlier that this is a Korean Bible woman doing evangelizing work there, her understanding is black and white. Christendom, heathendom. So the way she's comparing it, she's making it seem like, oh, America's Christianized and then Koreans are pagans. So that's more or less what she's really saying here. And this mindset is not just wrong, but it's disturbing and very dangerous. So you can see this black and white thinking UBF had. This goes way back. This is even before UBF was created. So you can see some of the kind of ideas and the inspirations to what UBF would adapt and how that becomes basic, how it comes to warp the mind of UBF. And right here she says, you know, language study can be boring, but Lord's help has been interesting. Seriously? Really? Like, I get we're human, but to say it's boring, I mean, that seems disrespectful, in my humble opinion. And then this last part, I've been helping a little every day with the occupational therapy in the hospital. So Sarah Berry worked in a hospital, kind of like Mother Teresa in a way. So that's what she originally did. But as you can see in the letter, she hasn't evangelized or preached the gospel to anyone in Korea yet. She's gonna talk about that in a future letter. And that's pretty much it for this video. So links, you can see the original ones, transcript here as well. Any questions, comments, or something else that you would like to add on, leave a comment down below, and until next time.